Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today. We're very excited to be chatting through 2025 QuickBooks trends for this year so every small business needs to know so that you can stay ahead and get ahead with your business this year to optimize it for growth. Just a few quick things before we dive into the webinar. This is being recorded and we will send a recording of it out to your email by tomorrow. So keep a lookout for that. Feel free to share it with anyone from your team that you'd like. There is also a questions section in here. We'll do a Q&A at the end, but feel free throughout the webinar to add any questions in there, and we'll be sure to circle back to them at the end. I will pass it over to Atiba and Fady to introduce themselves. We're very excited. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining us today. Atiba, can you introduce yourself quickly?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Caitlin. And hi, everybody. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to join us for this. So my name's Atiba Lewis. I've been with Intuit almost 8 years now, actually, coming up next month.
Wow.
And, about a 20-year background in terms of IT experience. So various companies, global companies around IT. Currently here at Intuit, working with QuickBooks and really working with our ecosystem, our different app providers, to kind of help our customers demystify those hundreds of applications that are around our ecosystem. So I'm kind of cross-functionally working with different teams here at Intuit, our marketing teams, our sales teams, product development. So really excited to be here and talk to you about some of these trends. I think they're exciting trends that keep on coming up in a lot of the conversations we have
Yeah.
with our customers.
Amazing. Thank you. Fady, can you introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, thanks, Caitlin. Thanks, Atiba. Excited to be here. Fady Hawatmeh. I am the founder and CEO of Clockwork. I started Clockwork AI after running my own outsourced CFO consulting firm. I'm a finance guy. Started off at Boeing in both the defense and the commercial side. Worked on the Dreamliner and a couple other kind of awesome programs there. Went into oil and gas consulting and then started my own outsourced CFO consulting firm, which gave me the idea and the need after living the pain for many, many years to build an all-encompassing comprehensive FP&A software.
Amazing, thank you. And I'm Kaitlin. I will be your panelist today. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Method. I've worked across a number of industries from retail to CPG to manufacturing to telecom. So doing marketing at all of those, trying to really help businesses grow their own businesses. So I think that's a little bit what we're here to talk about today with the trends and how we can get ahead of them.
Oh,
So
and
yeah,
Caitlin, I totally forgot my title in there, that introduction.
oh,
It's so long.
yeah.
It's a principal industry solution strategist. I always forget to
Thank you.
talk about it because it's just too long. Back to you,
Thank you
Caitlin.
for sharing. Awesome. So yes, today we'll be covering a number of trends in depth. We'll get uh, insights and expertise from our two industry experts here who have many years experience. So lots of good stuff to talk about. We'll cover everything from the rising trend of AI, the buzzword everyone keeps hearing about, to cloud computing and the importance of trends like customer-centric trends, as well as financial planning and visibility and how you can do that a little bit easier. So let's dive in. Let's talk about cloud computing first. Cloud computing, online cloud accounting, all of that. I know it's a rising trend we've been seeing over the last 10 years, probably continuing to grow. Last year, Intuit also announced their desktop stop sell, so really shifting towards that cloud focus. Atiba, can you tell us a little bit more about that? Maybe some of the benefits for some of the small businesses in case some of our audience today may still be on more of a desktop setup?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely, Caitlin. So I think the shift to cloud-based accounting has
Hmm.
probably been one of the most significant changes we've seen in the industry over the past decade, right?
Yeah.
Businesses of all sizes are really now embracing the cloud, not just because it's cloud, but really much because of the flexibility, the accessibility, the scalability it provides.
Yeah.
So it's no longer just a trend, it's just becoming the standard now, right? I think there's a couple key benefits when I talk about, customers moving to the cloud or the benefits to moving to the cloud. I think one of them has definitely got to be accessibility, which I mentioned, right? With web-based tools, users can really access their data from anywhere at all. So accessibility, I think collaboration is a key point here. Collaborating, for example, a small business with their accountant, both having access to QuickBooks Online in real time. Automation is another huge benefit of moving to the cloud. And probably the last two, not the only two, but the last two I'd probably point out would be security, right? I think a lot of people don't realize that cloud providers really invest so heavily into top-notch security standards and protocols to protect that customer sensitive customer data, often much more securely than many local systems, right?
Hmm.
And then from a scalability perspective, I think cloud solutions really enable businesses to grow, or allows us to grow with your business, making it easier to add on features and expand capacity as needed.
Yeah, once you're in the online ecosystem, it's a lot easier to connect to other apps and some of the desktop ones, right?
100%.
There's a lot more limited options when it comes to that. So that's great.
Yeah.
Fatty, what are you seeing in terms of those trends and how cloud-based accounting is helping like reshape the way businesses are operating today?
Yeah, it's the speed of innovation that cloud-based has just completely changed even though it's always so overused, it's changed the game, right? It
Yeah,
really has been game changing. Like my firm, when I started Clockwork, or before I started Clockwork, my firm,
yeah,
we were a QBO only shop. And with all respect, QBO wasn't that good back in 2015, 2016, 2017. There was a lot of room for improvement, but
yeah,
now it's very powerful, and companies outgrew QBO historically rather quickly. Now you don't need to leave QBO to go to the bigger players unless there's like very, very specific use
hmm,
cases that QBO continues to just build and innovate on. So it really allows companies to just have all the power that they need going into I mean, we're in 2025, the AI has officially taken over a lot of just the world. And the only way you can really leverage that and keep up with it is by being cloud based.
yeah. That's a great point. Great segue also into our next trend, which is AI. It's the buzzword we're all hearing, but as you mentioned, it's taken over every industry these days, and there's so much more and so many tools that drive AI and automation that are more than just Chat GPT rewriting my email for me, right? So I'd be curious, Atiba. I know Intuit's leaning into this trend as well, like any other company. So any tools or specific things that you can highlight within the Intuit or QuickBooks ecosystem that our listeners should try out?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And just before getting into some of the details,
Yeah.
I think just, you mentioned buzzword, right? And I think as
Yeah.
we look, yeah, absolutely. And it has been over the last
Yeah.
few years, right? I think that in 2025, we're going to see that artificial intelligence is no longer going to be a buzzword, right? I
It'll
think it's going to
actually be
become a
helpful.
core part now. It's going to become this year specifically. I think it's going to become a core part of how businesses operate, right? Fadi, you talked about the acceleration and how fast the adoption that cloud allows. So I think that AI really has that potential this year to revolutionize the way we're working. So for sure at Intuit, we've been really leading the charge in integrating AI to better serve our users for a while, right? And so even
Hmm.
though obviously we think about ChatGPT and all these different tools we have from AI, AI has been around in various states for many years, right? I remember way back when QuickBooks Online started with bank connections and bank feeds. As those transactions were coming in, we would use stuff like machine learning, right? We've come a
Yeah.
long way from there. That's one aspect of it, right? So in terms of Caitlin of specifically what we're doing, I think
Hmm.
what we're going to see over the next few months is a term called Intuit Assist, right? And Intuit Assist is really our AI-powered digital assistant, um, really much designed to simplify financial tasks for your customers and individuals, right? So things like providing real-time suggestions, answering
Hmm.
questions about the data that resides in QuickBooks. It could be guiding users step by step for how to do things like invoices. It can be, for example, taking an email you got and transforming that email into an estimate or an invoice based on the data that's in there. Um, one of the things I'm really excited about is the smart matching, or how we're going to use AI to automate banking reconciliation, right? So really matching transactions with invoices and expenses much more intelligently. We've already seen some really great improvements on the efficiency of those banking transactions. And so across the different product portfolios, right, you're definitely going to see, I think 2025 is definitely going to be a big year for bringing a lot of these tools into the hands of our customers.
Yeah, that's awesome. Bring them into real action and real things that our customers can use. That's amazing. Fady, how have you seen and used AI within Clockwork to increase your customers' efficiency and even the accuracy of what they're looking at?
Yeah, one of the funniest things is when I first introduced Clockwork to the world, right? Clockwork.ai was the domain that I bought.
Yeah.
.ai is the country domain of Anguilla, and and people thought they're like, where's this company from? What is .ai? And we're talking back only 2017, 2018.
Yeah.
It was completely alien, and people thought I was wearing a tinfoil hat when I would say it's going to be AI powered FP&A. Now, I mean, our accuracy is out of the box, right? And it's a provided accuracy for all of our users, all of our partners. But most importantly, it's allowed our team to stay super efficient and effective as
Yeah.
well. So we use it to make our our users as accurate as possible, to get insights that took me as a CFO tons and tons of time, tons and tons of hours, tons and thousands of dollars. Now that's done in minutes. It's
Yeah.
literally a couple $100. You're talking not just time savings, but money and then impact. You can move so much quicker because you use AI to make better decisions, to make them faster, to iterate, to grow, to adapt. It's been awesome from an external perspective and from an internal perspective.
That's amazing.
That's a really good point, Fatty. And we talk a
Yeah.
lot, stuff like Caitlin, when we talk about Intuit Assist and these banking
Yeah.
transactions, these are all very much external use cases, right?
Hmm.
Internally, though, all our product development teams, we're really empowering them with AI tools to allow them to bring our customers new features to market much faster, right?
Yeah.
So, and AI is important in the accounting industry because it's really driving efficiency, accuracy, and insights, right? All those things. It's really helped driving that for our customers.
Yeah, our team is doing the exact same thing, right? How do we use AI to be able to deliver better solutions to the customers as well? So yeah, that's amazing.
And we do love it, like
Um,
you said, Caitlin, for the
yeah.
email, right? We do love
Well,
charging for
yeah,
email.
we'll rewrite our emails. Yeah, that's easy enough. But yeah, I mean, so there's more and more AI tools and also automation tools coming out, as you both mentioned. So I think that's a great segue to the next trend, which is really the importance of start. Now that you're on the cloud, now that there's these new tools out, how do we now start embracing that connected app ecosystem to really make QuickBooks more than just your accounting software? Atiba, as companies grow, a lot of them I think start hitting that they think they're hitting that limit of, do I need to move to a different tool other than QuickBooks? Do I need to move to an ERP or something like that? But this connected
Yeah,
app ecosystem really allows them to continue to grow, right? So I'd love to hear
right.
your perspective on that and how building that can help a company scale.
Yeah, I love time. This is like my favorite subject. I mean,
Your
I think
favorite
it's what
question? Perfect.
I'm hands deep in this every day, right? And as like you mentioned, as businesses grow and they evolve, they're worrying about if their tools are going to be able to keep up with their needs, right? And from an accounting perspective, this might mean like, hey, am I going like Patty said, am I going to outgrow QuickBooks Online eventually, right? And do I need to transition to a more complex ERP system enabled to meet my growing business needs, right? But I think with the advancements that we've seen in our ecosystem and how connected that is, I think the QuickBooks Online platform really allows businesses to scale along with them,
Mhm.
right? And so just when we look at QuickBooks and the different versions of QuickBooks, I think as we scale, QuickBooks Online Advanced really becomes the staple of what
Agreed.
businesses can start on to really grow their ecosystem. And so the QuickBooks app ecosystem really includes hundreds of different integrations, covering things like inventory, e-commerce, CRM, project management, more in-depth financials.
Yeah.
All these apps really work seamlessly with QuickBooks Online. Um, that helps deliver a more tailored solution for your customers. Um, Over the past, I actually met with a gentleman 2 years ago at a
Hmm.
conference out in Vancouver who was the CFO of a large non-for-profit organization, right? And we had a great chat, and he was talking about QuickBooks Online Advanced, and they were currently on an ERP system, right? And it was just
Mm,
overkill for them. It was really overkill. They didn't need all those features, and they were able to transition to QuickBooks Online Advanced, leverage some of our third-party ecosystems to help manage, whether it's their financial forecasting, or I think for them it
yeah,
was employee expense submission. So they did have a
yeah,
few tools within this ecosystem, but their cost savings were in the thousands per month by moving to this system. And I think that, other customers often look at ERP systems as a kind of a one size fits all, right? And you will find that, first, the deployment costs are just enormous,
crazy.
right? The implementation, deployment. But then also, I think with the QuickBooks Online ecosystem like we have here, when you have something like a method and Clockwork
Hmm.
all working together, you end up getting the best of the best, right? And so you're not really settling for a one size fits all solution. You're going out and saying, hey, what's the best CRM that's going to meet my customers' needs? What's the best financial management platform? What's the best platform for my financial reporting tools? And then you blend together this one ecosystem that's not only more efficient, but it's also it delivers that at a better ROI, right?
Totally. I think there's potentially could be a perception, right, of okay, I have to now connect all these different apps. I don't know how to do that. Is it going to be harder? Is it going to be more complex versus okay, I just switched to one system. But to your point,
Mm-hmm.
they're so much more expensive. Like the cost difference is crazy. And then the change management of it, like that's a
Yeah.
huge change versus, you can stay on the QuickBooks that your team already knows how to use. You don't have to
Mm.
change those processes. You can just connect the tools to augment and solve those pain points to your point that connect back so everything is still working and syncing together. So that's amazing.
Yeah, and I think that, Intuit, we really recognize that
Hmm.
as customers are looking to grow and scale
Yeah,
with our ecosystem, you mentioned the challenges of connecting, two or three or four
yeah.
apps. So we did think of that. And, both in the US and Canada, we've launched different programs, but basically solution provider programs, right? And so these providers can help businesses put all those five or six pieces together, help them implement it, help them make recommendations. So, our customers are not, out in the cold to fend for themselves. We really do have the right type of support that can bring that ecosystem together for them.
Yeah, that's great. I know we've worked firsthand with your team as well to see how can we improve our connections or anything like that. So
Mm.
we really value that partnership as well. Fadi, what about you? What advice would you give to customers as they're looking through the app store of a million apps in terms of picking some of the right ones to integrate with?
Yeah, the easiest thing is there's always a solution out there,
Yeah,
right? There's literally always a solution. If you try something, first try something. Don't sign up for anything off the street.
yeah,
Don't sign up just because, like it's quote unquote industry standard.
yeah,
Um, Try something. If it works, great. If it doesn't, stop using it. Stop trying to force,
yep.
a square into a circle. I think that was one of the biggest kind of epiphanies that I had, with
Yeah.
when I was working with my clients and then also with Clockwork. It's always important, like you're keeping up to date with the updates that QBO has in itself. Like there have
Hmm.
been countless partners of ours that will come to us and be like, well, we want to use Clockwork, but this client doesn't work with QBO because of X and Y feature. I'm like, they have that. And they're like, do they? And I'm like, yes, just look it out. And so keeping
Yeah,
keeping just keeping up to date with all the updates that are happening, aligning yourself with the right solution. Finance companies don't hire for finance soon, and they shouldn't, right?
yeah,
Finance should not be one of the first roles that a company hires for. They shouldn't hire for it for a long time in their growth. And so make sure you're using tools that don't leave those blind spots just because you don't have a role, you know, a person in that role. That's really been the biggest thing. And then no one's ever been excited to switch to NetSuite. No one's ever been excited to switch to Sage Intacct, right? You'll always hear of failed implementations for both NetSuite and for Sage
Yeah.
Intacct. Um, I can count on the number of one hands how many companies have said I've had a failed QBO or zero implementation, right?
Yeah.
Make sure that you're not just kind of graduating just because you think that that's the next step. And companies can work a lot smarter and harder.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes I had from a customer interview a couple of years ago was, no one wants to be that person that suggests moving to the ERP. That's like a career limiting
Yeah.
move. And
Yep.
that really
Yep.
stuck with me because it's like, yeah, it's true.
Yep.
Because it is a big, crazy step. So yeah, no,
It,
I really agree with that.
such a huge step. And I think
Yeah.
one of the things we're trying to work on this year that you'll see with QuickBooks is really developing uh, um, a suggested suite, let's say, or tech
Hmm.
stack of tools
Yeah.
by vertical industry, right? So that whether you're working in a professional services type
Yeah.
organization, construction, non-for-profit, there's a few different verticals and also horizontal, what we call mid-market enablers that
Hmm.
will help customers make that choice and give them some suggestions as a first approach.
Amazing. I wanted to add on a little bit to Fatty's point too, in terms of, there's so many apps in the App Store. There's going to be one that's going to solve the pain point that you have, right? So, like he said, start the free trials, do all of that, but there's going to be one in there that's going to solve that pain point. So, if there's something that you can't do within QuickBooks or you're frustrated with a process that you're doing outside of QuickBooks, take a look at the App Store, search it up. There's categories in the App Store as well, I think, for different things you're looking to solve, whether it's get paid or manage customers. I always like to think about it in terms of real customer examples too, to really bring some tangible aspect to it. So, just a quick customer story, but we had a consulting firm who was managing all of their, invoices and their customer like payments and all of that within QuickBooks, but they couldn't keep up with the email inquiries and phone calls and leads that they were getting. So they weren't able to follow up quick enough. They were managing it in, paper and pen, the whiteboard, all over wherever they could. Because QuickBooks has customer information in it, but if you have your lead contact information, that doesn't automatically sync over until they become a customer, right? So they came to Method and we were able to solve that pain point for them. So we automated that lead collection from that website. We automated, emails sending out as a follow up to those new leads, sending reminders to their team to follow up with a phone call, creating estimates, auto converting those to invoices, even giving their customers a portal to be able to access all those documents, approve them, send that payment back with that all syncing back to QuickBooks. So just one example, but whatever it is you're looking to solve outside of QuickBooks, there's going to be a solution in that app store. So really excited to hear all the work that Intuit's doing to highlight what some of those different options are for all of our users and to continue to focus on tools to help you guys be able to connect them all. So moving on to our next trend, it's going to be the importance of financial visibility and planning. So I know there's rising economic pressures. Everyone's feeling it, whether that's inflation or interest rates or potential tariffs. Lots of things going on in the market right now, which makes it more and more important than ever as we're entering 2025 to really have visibility into your finances so that you can plan a little bit better and making sure that you're planning for that profitability. So, Fady, I would love if you could dive into a little bit more why this is so important for small businesses from your perspective and how a tool like Clockwork could help.
Yeah, I mean it's literally why I became an outsourced CFO in the first place. Like
Yeah.
that was literally it. I left my comfortable corporate finance job because so many of my small business entrepreneur friends kept asking for simple help in my eyes, but for them it's something unfathomable, right? They couldn't understand what a cash flow forecast was. They didn't know
Yeah.
why they needed it. They didn't know what projections actually meant. And so it was literally why I built an outsourced CFO firm out of demand. But the biggest barrier was the time to provide that value, right? To build a financial model and do something that you're actually building financial visibility that companies that have full finance departments, that's what they're kind of building. And you're telling a company that doesn't have one finance person, they're leveraging their accountant to be their main person. They need that power. but they just don't have the resources. They don't have the tools. And so that's really where Clockwork comes into play. We level the playing field. You don't
Yeah.
need a full blown FP&A team and a CFO and a corporate controller, and you don't need that. You can still get decisions at that level, CFO level insights within minutes, but you're getting it from a comprehensive perspective. I think one of the biggest challenges coming, on my off my FP&A CFO, soapbox, you cannot piecemeal plan, right? There's no piecemeal planning when it comes to decisions, hiring decisions, potential layoffs, fundraising, that kind of stuff. You cannot plan in a silo. You can't say, "Oh, my bank account tells me this. I'm gonna collect on these invoices, pay these bills, and that's my cash flow forecast." It's not how it works. You really need all those insights, and they're literally the difference between life or death in a business, right? When you're making those decisions, you make one bad decision based on bad data, your company may not exist anymore, right? That's
Yep.
the severity of it, and we take that super personally. I take it super personally,
Yeah.
and that's really where we try and lean in.
Yeah, and I would say like I think so many companies just have all of this data, right? It's just how
Yeah,
do you summarize it up in a way that's giving you those insights. So you're spending less time trying to find the data, figure out what numbers are right and all that stuff, and more time actually just seeing what does this mean for my business and how do I take action from there. So a tool like
Yeah.
that is just so important. Fadi, or sorry, Atiba, anything to top up there?
Yeah, I mean, I think Fatty, you mentioned something really key there, and those are decisions that are so critical that you got to make sure you're not basing it on bad data, right? And I think
Mhm.
some of that responsibility, a lot of that responsibility lies in QuickBooks as that source of truth
Yeah.
sometimes to make sure that our customers have accurate data, right? And so not only the data coming in, right? So we talk about third-party apps and connections into
Hmm.
e-commerce, for example, right? Making sure that the data that's flowing in from an Amazon or a Shopify into QuickBooks is accurate, right? That's kind of key for us. The other thing I wanted to talk about around that importance of financial visibility and those decisions, I think as businesses grow, they need better controls in place, right? They need better controls in everything. And so with the launch, over the last few years of QuickBooks Online Advanced, and the continued investment that we make into that platform, so the continued features that we launch, you're going to see things like much more granular controls or user level controls of who gets to access what, right? So just making sure that in your organizations, the right people have access to the right data, right? And that's going to really help lower your risk for things like bad data and having too many cooks in the kitchen, as we say,
Yeah.
right? And so, I think more granular controls are an important thing. The other aspect that we focus a lot on in QuickBooks Online Advanced specifically is automation around workflows. And I think with this conversation, what's critical is things like approvals, right? So when you're
Yeah.
going through and when your businesses have larger, a large purchase order, a large invoice that you're sending out, like putting more structured around who gets to send that out. If it's over $1,000, do we have this approved by Fady? If it's over 5,000, maybe we need both Fady and yourself, Kaitlin, to approve that, or maybe three,
Yeah.
right? So different levels of approval like that, I think, are key in that whole conversation about better data, better controls in place like that. And then I think the last thing I would add, as we talk about accurate data, the more data points that a customer has, the more flexibility they have after that, right? And so, we've spoken with customers often who are like, okay, well, when I send out an estimate or an invoice, I'd really like to capture all these other data points. All right. And I think that's really where QuickBooks Online allows you to add all these different
Yeah.
custom fields in there. And I see that benefit when it comes up from a reporting standpoint, because now you can report out on all these different things that are not necessarily just financial data. Right. So that's probably the only other thing I'd want to add in there. Maybe just, QuickBooks does have, a lot of basic financial tools that are there.
Hmm.
I think when we look to the cash flow forecasting, and stuff like Clockwork does, that's really where you see the benefit of this ecosystem approach, right? And
Yeah.
so I'm really excited to hear what Fady had to say there around what his platform is doing.
Yeah. Something you said there stuck out to me as well in terms of as businesses scale, having those workflows automated as well. I find, when you're
Hmm.
a small company, the CEO might know exactly how he wants to do things, right? I want to charge an estimate like this because I want this much money for this much, this many roofs that I'm installing. And as you scale, you want those processes to continue, right? So you want everyone to be able to pricing the exact same way you did. But as you scale, you can't just necessarily teach everyone that and assume
Hmm.
everyone is doing it that exact way, right? And that's where some of that workflow automation really comes in handy to make sure whatever those processes or SOPs are that you have in place, whatever you can automate within QuickBooks, 100%. But then there's also tools like Method really helps to automate a lot of those workflows too. So if it is estimate creation, setting up what those prices are, what all those variables are, so that it automatically spits out that invoice price in a way that is exactly how the CEO would want it. So letting, as businesses grow, empowering the team, kind of automating and those pieces to help you grow sustainably, and so that the CEO can not, to your point, too many cooks in the kitchen, not have their hands in every single thing. So that's great.
It's to
For the
make,
oh,
if if
yeah,
if I can add something, it's to make everyone's
yeah,
life easier. Like
yeah, 100%.
literally it, right? The
Yeah,
CEO who,
everyone.
it's for everyone to have their life easier. If you're using a software, I don't care what it is, if it doesn't
Yeah,
make your life easier, stop using it. Stop paying for it.
yeah,
Every single thing, every solution that anyone uses,
yeah,
AI, whether it's not AI, whether if it does not make your life easier, stop
Hmm.
using it. Stop trying to
yeah,
force it. Stop trying to do stuff. That really is kind of like the thing that sticks out
100%.
based on everything that you guys just talk about.
Yeah. I think the two-way sync is key as well, right? So yes, it's in the app store, but making sure it has that good sync, that integration, as you don't really just want another tool that isn't maybe not connecting the way you want it to, or maybe some things connect, but then you have to manually input other things. You want something that connects really well so that everything stays up to date across both systems and actually makes your life easier and actually speeds that up versus just being another roadblock or another step on your to-do list, as Fadi mentioned. Awesome. The fifth trend we have here is increasing importance on customer-centric strategies. I mean, when we look at the market, as I mentioned, rising economic pressures this year, we know consumer spending is down. Some of the spending on SaaS and tech products is down. So customers are being more and more picky about what they're spending their money on, giving them a little bit of the power in the market in some industries today. Um, they so that gives them the right to be a little bit pickier and choosier in terms of whether they want good quality products or services, but also just a good customer experience overall. I saw a stat that stuck out with me the other day that said 85% of customers said they would stop buying from a company after just two bad experiences, which is a big number, right? So if, managing your finances, making sure you get them the right invoice number and get paid is super important and all that within QuickBooks, but also giving them that good customer experience is critical if you want them to, maybe refer more customers or to come back to buy from you again. So definitely a rising importance in this day and age of making sure you have some customer centric strategies top of mind as well. I mean, how do you make that happen with QuickBooks, right? One way is investing in some of those customer management tools that we have on the App Store. So, as Atiba mentioned, a CRM or a customer centric tool like that isn't just for large businesses, right? They don't have to cost $100,000. There are tools that can work to solve some of those needs and give your customers self service tools or just a better experience in general. So, two things we like to suggest to customers to look out for when they're looking for something to solve this is one, that two-way sync, as we mentioned, so that it's actually making your life easier to QuickBooks. And then two, one that offers some kind of self-service tool. So I know Method, for example, we offer customer portals. So you can offer a unique portal link to each of your customers. They can access documents, they can approve documents, they can, see upcoming or past appointments, they can pay their invoices, they can do all of that on their own without having to call you every 5 minutes. So saves you time, but also empowers them to give them that visibility with all of those payments and invoices syncing back to QuickBooks. So just different tools like that. So highly recommend take a look at the customer management area and section within the Intuit App Store. And there's lots of good things in there that can help to bring some of these strategies to the forefront. Tiba, anything to top up there or any other kind of call outs or customer management apps or workflows within QBO or the App Store that you'd like to highlight?
Um, customers are definitely number one when we think about every time we think about
Yeah.
how we bring products to market. We're thinking about,
Yeah.
okay, how does this help our small
Yeah.
business customers, right? And now even more mid market customers.
Yeah.
I think one of the top of mind things about customers is how do they get paid? How they get paid faster, right?
Yeah.
We talked about the importance of cash flow. I know within QuickBooks Online, QB payments has been core. Like businesses just
Mm-hmm.
love the fact that they can send this out and get paid. So we're just recently announcing some improvements to that, at least in Canada. Like Amex is now going to be available,
Okay.
and bank to bank payments. Bank to bank payments are huge because most regular credit card processing companies or payment processors, including us, would charge, I believe it's like 2.9%, right?
Mm-hmm.
Transaction. Well, if you're a small business and you're in a field where your average, if the average invoice is a couple $100, no problem, that's great, right? But
Yeah.
if you're a construction company or anything else, and you have a $5,000, $10,000 job that you're getting paid for, that 2.9% is significant, right? And so these
Yeah.
bank to bank trans payments, bank to bank, is going to be a 1%. Right, so a huge savings
Yeah.
and efficiencies on that. So it's one example that we're looking at, and then maybe just tying back to AI. Right, we're looking at what
Mm-hmm.
we're doing for customers. What you're going to see inside QuickBooks Online is AI's ability to customize that invoice reminder message based on the history of that customer, right? So if that
Mm-hmm.
customer is paid really slowly, it might be a bit more of a harsh reminder as compared to somebody who's only late like once in a blue moon, right? So, customer centric, I think we're thinking a lot around that. And as well, internally at Intuit, we've invested heavily into our own customer support network, right? To make sure that, we have highly trained staff and we keep on increasing their competency levels as well, too, so that when you call in, people know what they're talking about, and that's a better overall customer experience.
That's great. Fady, have you found implementing any customer-centric strategies have helped at Clockwork?
Yeah, pretty significantly. So we launched a Clockwork University for non-financial professionals, right? Clockwork is your,
Yeah.
the way that what the companies look at it is essentially your digital CFO.
Yeah.
But you get all that data, you get that account, you get that power, and you're like, I have no idea what to do with this.
Yeah.
So we launched Clockwork University. We have a Clockwork certification program that allows people literally to go through and have the power and skills of a financial modeler, just without all the heartache and pain that comes with actually building a model in spreadsheets and having to manage them in Excel. And then on the other side, we're launching an advisory school
Hmm.
for accounting firms. So accounting firms that want to use Clockwork. Biggest thing now, everyone talks about advisory services. That's always been the flavor of the month and the
Yeah.
topic of the month. And so we're launching a CAS school that actually shows not only that Clockwork can be the tool that unlocks advisory, um, it's in a program that actually shows them what advisory means, what advisory looks like, literally down to meeting agendas, email templates to send to your clients, to your partners, to all that kind of stuff. So we steer very heavy into that and stay very close to all of our customers to make sure that we're always kind of on the forefront of innovation that people are asking for rather than what we think that they want.
Yeah. That's great. Love that. Okay. Well, that's our 5 trends today. Thank you so much for your insight and expertise on both of those. I hope our listeners learned something today and found something that they could apply to their business in this year to help them grow. Atiba, any closing remarks or other trends or insights that you wanted to highlight for our listeners today?
Um, I think AI is huge. As I
Yeah,
mentioned before, we talked a little bit about some of the advantages. I think what we're also going to see in 2025 is a lot more governance around AI, right? When you're talking about the
yeah,
quality of the data, the accuracy of the data, there are the downsides that we've seen. We've seen
yeah.
things like deep fakes and all that stuff. So I think businesses need to
Hallucinations.
really be aware of that, right? So I think it's important. That'll be one of my messages around AI is, be careful, right? Be careful about the providers, the quality, and how much we rely on that.
Yeah,
When we look at deploying AI within QuickBooks, it's very much internal, right? So it's an internal database of data.
yeah,
So, it's not just a chat GPT in there. So like within our product, you're going to see better data extraction. We're going to see better recommendations on categorizations. We'll have that in with Assist already available in the US and coming out in Canada over the next few months. So those are some of the things around AI that I would want to leave with. In terms of just our actual product, I think
hmm,
that, and Patty did mention this in the beginning, QBO had certain struggles, we'll put it that way,
yeah.
right? I've been here 8 years, I've seen the progress, it's amazing, but I think that I've never experienced this much new features being rolled out as ever before. It's just the level of innovation and the momentum that we're bringing these features to market is just unheard of, right?
Yeah,
And so with QuickBooks Online Advanced, we're looking to be on parity with the U.S. across all our other regions, right?
yeah,
And we're continuing to develop on that platform as well, and helping customers grow, right? When we say mid market, I don't want to scare away businesses. Mid market is a very broad term, right? I like to call it, complex small businesses or medium-sized businesses. And as we scale with them, like we have the resources to help them along their journey, whether that's our QuickBooks solution providers, our business solution providers, or our professional services teams. These are all resources available, right? We started off this talk, Kaitlin, with you named that there's going to be a stop sell on desktop, right?
mm,
So we do have free resources available to help migrate customers' data from desktop platforms over to QuickBooks Online. So if you're a business, you're out there, or if you're an accounting firm, reach out to your accounting firm, reach out to us.
yeah.
We definitely have the resources to help guide you in that journey to a cloud accounting infrastructure.
Amazing. And great to hear about all the new features that are coming out too. Is there
So
anywhere
excited.
that you would recommend to our listeners to go to see what some of those new features are or to stay up to date on
Yeah, actually, this has been an
them?
ask I've had for a lot of years. And yeah, and so we've actually embedded a link into QuickBooks now where you can see some
Okay,
of these new features, right? There's a little notification. And on the web as well, there is a website you can search it, and we'll have like all these new features when they came out and a little historics as well too. So very excited.
amazing. Okay, always good to stay up to date and try out some of those new
Yes.
features. So that's great. Fady, can you tell us a little bit more about Clockwork and how our customers can access it if they want to give it a try?
Yeah, super simple. Clockwork AI. Go. You can
Yeah,
literally create a trial. It takes 3 minutes. You
yeah,
see all of the insights that we were talking about. The main thing that we want to do is lower the barrier to entry to get immediate value. It's a 14-day trial. You have full functionality. You can play around, build your models. Custom KPIs, reporting, cash flow forecasts, weekly cash flow forecasts. You
hmm,
get all the power there. And it's it removes the overwhelmingness of AI, of all this kind of craziness. I know now in the industry itself, like, we went from last year, people were super skeptical of AI. Now everyone's adopting it, but
yeah,
it's so easy to be overwhelmed. You have all these companies that are raising literally hundreds of millions of dollars that are AI, and then you have
yeah.
everyone coming out with an AI version of their product. Don't be fooled by ChatGPT being wrapped around some other thing and your data is being sold elsewhere. Like Atiba said, I think that's the biggest trend that I see this
Yeah.
year is don't buy into the hype. Don't be overwhelmed. It really isn't that complex. If you want to talk to an AI company, first just ask them what type of AI they're using. What type is it,
Yeah,
machine learning? What it is. If they can't give you an answer within one sentence, stop talking to them. Run away. Right? It's not as big of a deal as people have made it. And yeah, that's really where we lean heavy in.
that's awesome. Thank you. And Method, if you want to give that a try, is super easy to access as well. Method.me. We also have a free 14-day trial. You start the trial and just sync it to your accounting software, and you'll see all the data immediately syncing over, seeing all that added functionality in terms of, estimates, invoices, managing your leads, all of that. And we have a variety of different apps as well for different industries. So, like Atiba said, QBO and Intuit is really trying to focus on splitting it out by industries to show you what's available. So within Method, we also have different apps for that. So, if you're an accounting firm or a professional services firm, we have our proposals app that will help develop custom engagement letters for you or build those invoices or estimates or invoices to be able to send that over to QuickBooks or even your time tracking. If you're a field services company that has techs that go in the field to complete jobs or appointments, we have a mobile app for that. We have, your team can access all the job details, get e-signatures on site, develop an estimate on site, and send all of that back to the back office, really connecting your front and back office. So really managing those end-to-end sales processes and automating those workflows. We also have a full team here to help customize it so that if you do have more of those complex workflows, like Atiba mentioned, not mid-market, but complex small businesses, if you have those workflows, we have a team that can help customize those workflows for you so it works exactly how you want it to. And we actually offer a free customization hour so that you can meet with that team, get a few minor things customized, or scope out what a larger project would look like. So yeah, that is Method. I will just quickly switch gears to our Q&A to take a few questions here. Um, One that I see is speaking a little bit to the security risk when moving to the cloud. Atiba, I know you highlighted that a little bit earlier, but I think there is still a mismatch in understanding there in terms of, all of my information's in the cloud. Isn't that scary? Can't anyone hack it and access it? Can you speak a little bit more and dive in to elaborate on how it actually is a little bit more secure?
Yeah, it's a lot of source. I'll just go back
Yeah.
many, many years,
Yeah.
right? I used to have, I was always in IT, right? And so store all
Yeah.
my pictures, had them on a drive. And I remember one day that drive crashed, that hard drive, physical hard drive crashed, and I lost
Yep.
thousands of pictures, right? Just gone, right? Today I can go back until from that moment, right? I start to move my personal image collection to the cloud like most people today, right? And thousands of photos on Google Drive, Google Photos, and I love it, right? It's
Mm,
there. I don't need to worry
yeah.
about it. I just don't need to worry. Customers who are on a desktop version of an accounting software had that complexity of managing local backups, right?
Yeah.
Um, Most small businesses struggle in terms of resources today, right? Um, I don't think the majority of small businesses out there have a full-time IT security person who is applying patches to their servers on a recurrent
Yeah.
basis and keeping all their softwares up to date. So there are many security vulnerabilities in a local kind of a local setup, right?
Mm,
As that customer moves over to the cloud now, that data is exponentially more secure than it was sitting on their server in their office, right? So that's one of the things. As we move to the cloud as well, too, there's also access control, right? I think we've moved pretty much all over to a dual factor authentication, even to the
yeah.
point sometimes it's frustrating, right? I need to log in quickly to QuickBooks, but I'm doing it from a different computer, and it's like, okay, here's a text code to your phone, and then
Yeah.
one to your email, and then finger. It's just we've gotten there, but it's important with the cloud. It's
Mhm.
important that we have the right amount of controls in place, right? The other thing is your data security, right? And so the data is backed up in real time. Something goes down, a server goes down. We have contingency plans set up, globally so that we can deal with natural disasters. Unfortunately, we've seen some very tragic natural disasters recently happening around the world. And so it makes you think of, do you have a disaster recovery plan and what does that look like, right? And so these are some of the benefits I think we can get from moving to the cloud from a security perspective. I hope that helps answer the question. And
Yeah,
maybe just the last thing to add, if you are if you actually just go to Intuit's website and you can click on privacy and security, you can get a
mm,
detailed list of all our security protocols that we offer.
amazing. Yeah, I think that helps paint the picture a little bit more for the team. Thank you.
Great.
The other question I see here is, we've spoken a lot about AI today, which is very exciting stuff, but how can a small business balance adopting a new technology like AI without overcomplicating their current workflows?
Fady, do you want to
I'll,
take that one? I think you're
yeah,
Yeah.
talking very much along those lines.
yeah, I'll jump all over that one. Um,
Yeah.
really, the AI is plug and play. If there is any software or any, I'm going to
Yeah.
use quotations, AI that says it's implementation and da da da, that's not AI. I
Yeah.
would make that blanket statement. But AI really should be very simple, and you can try very simple things like Kaitlin. I know we kind of said it kind of tongue in cheek at the beginning
Yeah.
is rewriting emails. You can
Yeah.
very simply start using AI. You don't have to go through an entire process or workflow
Yeah.
process or update or change things in your actual firm just to use AI. You can literally start using AI right now to rewrite emails or write templates or do anything like that
Yeah.
from a low lift, low level. But the other thing is find out what your biggest pain point is. If it's an actual pain point, prioritize literally one or two things a quarter and say,
Yeah.
I have to go and find a solution that can completely alleviate this pain point. And then if it doesn't, if the software does not, if it does not prove that it can alleviate that pain point legitimately within a week, 2 weeks, move on and find another one, or really identify. That's how you can pressure test without going through this huge, elaborate, overwhelming, putting so much stress, putting so much effort for something that's just going to be a distraction.
I like that perspective on it too, because you're really tying it back to what is that pain point you're trying to solve. Because,
Yeah,
it might not be AI that is solving
yeah.
it either, right? Like it depends what you're trying to solve. Is it just you want to speed up a workflow that's taking your team too much time? There's going to be a tool for that. Is it,
Mhm.
or, it might not be AI. So targeting it from that perspective first in terms of what you're trying to solve and then looking for solutions that could solve it
And
to
use
speed up
AI
those
to
workflows.
to
Use
find
AI.
AI. Like use
Yeah.
it, like literally go to
Yeah.
ChatGPT and ask it what
Mhm.
AI, like,
Yeah.
what AI
Th-
FP&A software is there? Like you
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
just use AI to give you the AI that you should go and try. It's
100%.
Yeah.
This
And
is the
maybe
problem I'm
there's
trying to
one.
solve. Give me five
yeah,
apps in the QuickBooks App Store that can
yeah,
solve it, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
One of the
exactly.
things I'd like to go back to add on to what Fatty said, and based on the question of how they can balance it and looking for
Yeah.
solutions. From my experience, like I've met with a lot of customers, and they can come to me and say, "Hey, you know what? I'm looking for, it could be CRM, let's say, okay, looking for a
Yeah.
CRM, and they
Yeah.
have a laundry list of criteria." Right. And I always tell them, and you mentioned priority, Fatty, prioritize that list for me, right? Because
Mhm.
yes, I can find you something that will give you that entire list and it's going to cost you an arm, right? And a leg. Now, if you prioritize that list, we can say, okay, maybe these are your 5 most critical features that you're looking to solve for. Focus on that, right? Because that's in terms of a balance, and if you have a limited amount of resources, I think that's the correct approach to take.
100%. Awesome. Okay, that was it for our Q&A section. So thank you very much again to Atiba and Fadi. Really appreciate you taking the time today and sharing your expertise with our listeners. We will send out, as I mentioned, the recording of this webinar. So if you have any other questions that you didn't have a chance to answer or ask today, just reply to that email and we'll be sure to get back to you or direct you to either Atiba or Fadi as needed. So thank you very much. And with that,
Thank
we
you.
will call the webinar to a close.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thanks.